don't get Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu for Switch, a remake of 1999's Pokemon Special Pikachu Edition and follow-up to mobile hit Pokemon Go. I've been riding the Pokemon train since Red and Blue's launch. I raced my friends to the end of Sun and Moon and argued with staffers over the series' direction. I'm currently wearing Pokemon Go themed college apparel from my relatively unknown school, and at that school, professors harp on the importance of audience. From journalism to marketing classes, the target audience is at the center of almost every lesson. I can't figure out who Pokemon Let's Go tries to target. At first, I thought Let's Go was a love letter to me. I've long begged for a return to Kanto before a Gen 4 remake, and have grown tired after a lifetime of random encounters. How then could I find myself bored by yet another traipse through what must be my most well-worn game map, this time with a simplified encounter mechanic and simply stunning art? Let's start at the beginning. To review Kanto is like evaluating my relationship with my parents. Sure, the flaws are apparent with some distance, but closeness still swaddles me in warm feelings. This is my home. This new Kanto is beautiful, debuting the most distinct style of any 3D Pokemon adventure. The world of Pokemon at once feels alive as creatures chirp into existence on the map. Only now, I'm irked by some of the vagueness of Team Rocket's goals. The critical path is nowhere near as flexible as I remember, and too often obtuse. The limited pool of Gen 1 Pokemon left massive holes in my team. Like Special Pikachu Edition, I had all three Kanto starters thrust upon me early on. Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise often appear on my endgame teams, but here, their move pool seemed lacking. I had little trouble plowing through battles with Pikachu's new always critical electric quick attack, Zippy Zap, but feared I may hit a wall as trainer levels creeped up. I stumbled around the middle of the map for a while. I may have forgotten the order in which I needed the Sylph Scope, the Poke-Flute, and a drink for the guards, but NPCs put me back on track. The rival, whom I named David after Let's Go Eevee reviewer and Canadian David Lloyd, is as overly helpful as one might expect a trainer from the north to be. He popped up at key moments to disappoint with his pathetic team and walked me by the hand toward the story. Blue sometimes showed up at the same time to offer guidance and pep talks. Time made him soft. I did get stuck a few times in the original, so did my neighbor across the street. In fact, everyone at my elementary school had to band together to find the elusive mall vending machine. I wonder if Let's Go patronizes with its helpfulness. The lack of overt direction in Red gave me an agency never before afforded to 9-year-old me, perhaps the most formative aspect of what felt like my first real adventure. Some touches added depth to the plot. I wondered who the protagonist was as Pikachu demanded the spotlight. His, or her in my case, reactions to gym wins and rocket battles were way stronger than mine. Team Rocket's Jesse and James seemed to be everywhere, even if their pushover battles replaced a few memorable moments. The Pokemon Mansion now looked like the birthplace of all-powerful Mewtwo. 2 cameos teased a fuller world. I met Brock at the store and Lorelei on the water. Finally, I thought, these characters live in this world. But no, each was only allowed outside once. They featured in a single story beat before standing in place for all eternity. Once again, only my rivals and I seemed bothered by Kanto's mobster problem. But the music took me back. The epic score turned strolls between towns into adventures, even without random battles. Team Rocket's takedowns felt badass. Caves filled with mystery, forests with wonder. Vermilion City still promised the future and cherished the past. By the time I beat the 8th gem, I remembered why I love Kanto. I felt my heart pound in my throat as I chose each attack. The final battle carried a weight matched only by the leader's hard-to-counter party. It laughed at the weaknesses of my own. We'd come so far, my Pokemon friends and I, and this fight relied heavily on the raw power accumulated over our time together. Returning to the first town for the last gem still closes this story better than any other Pokemon game. I'd gone on an adventure, simple as it was, but the time spent away didn't hit until I went back home. Yes, Pokemon is evolving. Wild Pokemon are now visible on the overworld, and encounters are a Pokemon Go-style catch game. Thank God. Gone are the hordes of wild Zubat begging for the swift death of your first Pokemon's first move. Instead, players can walk around lame Pokemon and only go after favorites. Catching Pokemon isn't just for fun though, as Pokemon reward candy and experience when caught. There's a candy to raise each stat, and candy specific to each Pokemon. Catch a Pokemon multiple times in a row to increase rewards and spawn rarer, stronger, or even shiny Pokemon. This massive revamp is a welcome addition. The catch game, however, is not. My years of practice in Pokemon Go don't translate well to the Switch's motion controls. The target doesn't follow the same rules in both games, even though they look and function the same way. In Pokemon Go, the smaller circle stops shrinking as soon as the player releases the ball. Not here though. Let's Go's menus, button presses, text, and animations slow down the time between Pokeball throws, turning impatience into frustration. Throws often go the wrong direction. Pokemon can run at any time, not just after escaping a Pokeball, another change from Go. What should have been a familiar experience to the millions of Go players is instead jarring in its subtle yet major differences. Or maybe I'm just bad at it. By the end of my journey, as I snuck past the Golbat swarm guarding Mewtwo's dungeon, I begged one of them to attack me. And I don't mean attack my Pokeball mid-air. While I appreciate Let's Go's bold new system, the catch mechanics need a bit more time in the oven. Let's Go has a lot to teach the mainline series, but forgets lessons from its predecessors. Menus clunk on simple tasks like changing your party, and a tiny stutter after each button press adds up when looking for a specific Pokemon. The experimental candy system adds a ton of depth, but only lets you feed one candy at a time. I look back at my 30+ hour journey and wonder just how much of it I spent picking up an item, listening to the item jingle, then putting the item in a specific part of my bag. How justified is the 20-second intro to a battle ended by a single Pikachu Zippy Zap? Series veterans are well aware of these issues, but Let's Go does little to mitigate them. Sun and Moon introduced two solutions to streamline gameplay, but one is oddly missing from Let's Go. Hidden moves are replaced by secret techniques for Pikachu. Characters go out of their way to explain that these moves are only for people to learn, then teach them to Pikachu anyway. Again, I think Pikachu is the protagonist. Secret techniques are buried in yet another menu, but talking to, say, water or a boulder prompts a wordy prompt to use one. Missing is any indication of type effectiveness. In Sun and Moon, the battle screen indicated super effective attacks, and the Game Boy games included a type chart in the box. For what hopes to be an on-ramp to the franchise, this omission feels almost like an oversight. Speaking of oversights, I don't know why Meltan is here. The adorable Pokemon Go exclusive isn't strong, doesn't fit into the story, and can't even evolve in Let's Go. I discovered these facts only after I built my endgame team around him, so I took every opportunity to stomp on him as he followed me, forcing him back into his Pokeball momentarily. I had a few Pokemon follow me during my adventure, and ride Pokemon are seriously awesome. I zipped around on Charizard, high above trainers on the old cycling road, but again had to fight menus if I wanted to land. I hope this feature never leaves us, but I need a dedicated Put Pokemon Away button. The menu got so cumbersome that I hardly rode Pokemon at all. Each Pokemon has a slight redesign. Pikachu is more expressive than ever, with giggle fits and more variations on its name than I thought possible. It likes pets, and you can play with its hair or dress it up. Its tail wags when near a secret item. It's cute. Golbat has leathery wings, and Parasect has a subtle camouflage pattern. Every Pokemon has a realistic shadow, both in and out of battle. Let's Go takes advantage of its detailed new look with a cinematic camera. Forgettable story beats like Bill's Sea Cottage become epic moments. The camera swoops dramatically during battles. Pokemon sometimes jump out of frame during attacks, but I still appreciate the tension brought to important battles. Co-op is, perhaps, Let's Go's oddest inclusion. All controls are mapped to a single tiny hand-cramping Joy-Con, so another player can grab the other Joy-Con to drop in at any time. Player 2 doesn't get a name and can't interact with anything, but totes steals your whole aesthetic. All battles turn into 2-on-1 slaughterfests, and coordinated Pokeball throws net a catch bonus. Though clumsy, I played a big chunk as both players, spamming Pikachu's payday for extra cash. I played a bit with my brother-in-law, but our conflicting, controlling natures kept that short. Co-op is a brilliant inclusion for younger players, though. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu justifies its own existence by trying to please every Pokemon fan. It can't. What it does do is highlight the disparity among its bases. Its fierce and loyal competitive scene, its incredibly friendly world, and its simple to grasp, hard to master systems. Going forward, the Let's Go series would do well to let go of me. It's okay to make a game for new and younger players, but it's not okay to sell that game to stalwarts nearing 30. Let's Go's fresh ideas have me excited for the future of Pokemon, but these changes now mar the very experience that had me fall in love with this world.